You may not understand why these past few days, you find yourself sighing often, staring into the distance, as if your soul is trying to warn you about something. Something that feels like a new page of destiny unfolding, one you've never written on before. But today, if you are a Sagittarius, this is the moment for you to listen, because a symbolic death is approaching, not to end you, but to end the version of you that no longer fits the true light within you. And what you never expected is this. The person you once loved, the one you thought had vanished forever, is being sent back to you by the universe. But not to repeat the past, rather, to bring closure to a soul journey left unfinished through a miracle. So what exactly is happening in the Sagittarius chart that destiny is marking you now? And why are you the only one seeing the signs before anyone else even notices? Next, I'll show you that. The place in the stars where your name has been etched into an inevitable moment. You may have already felt it. There's nothing clear, no warning, but something has been silently urging you. An invisible calling, not from this world, but from deep within. When I looked at the current Sagittarius chart, I saw something that wouldn't let me sit still. A planetary configuration is lighting up. Rare, powerful, but it only opens to souls who have walked through ruins and survived. Jupiter, the ruling planet of Sagittarius, is forming a rare trine with Pluto, the symbol of death and rebirth, and Venus, planet of love, beauty, and pure longing. This is not a time for enjoyment. This is a time for awakening. The trine between Jupiter and Pluto often brings a symbolic death of a lifestyle, a relationship, a belief system. I've seen hundreds of charts where a broken heart wasn't the end, but the gateway through which the soul breathed for the first time after years of captivity. My personal belief is this: death never comes to take, it comes to return to you, the purest version of yourself, the soul no longer distorted by others' expectations, old wounds, or the fear of being rejected for being too different. The 8th house in your chart, the house of spiritual rebirth, hidden power, sexuality, and yes, death, is being powerfully activated. And when the 8th house is awakened, no Sagittarius remains the same. You no longer say, "I believe." You live as if faith is your oxygen. I say this with caution, but also with deep conviction. Not everyone is marked. But you, Sagittarius, you have been chosen. Chosen to witness what seemed dead come alive within you. Chosen to prove that true light can survive soul death. And chosen to open the gate that others only dare to watch from afar. Have you ever felt as if you didn't quite belong to this world? Have you ever looked around and seen everything functioning, but your soul remains silent, as if waiting for another moment, another world? That's not an unusual feeling. That is your soul, receiving a summoning from destiny. This moment will cause many Sagittarians to lose old relationships, jobs once thought permanent, or the image you've tried so hard to maintain in the eyes of others. But here's the lesson I've learned. After 50 years observing planetary cycles, we were not born to fit into someone else's gaze. We were born to become the gaze of God upon our own soul. In this energy, you may begin to remember things you had forgotten. A dream from childhood, a spiritual gift once silenced, a longing for true love you once dismissed as naive, but these very things are returning because you are being reborn. Death here does not arrive overnight. It comes like a small crack in the identity you once believed was real. And through that crack, light begins to seep in. If you felt yourself walking through a point of no return, if you feel like you are being led by something unseen and you can't turn away, write this in the comments below. I am ready for my old self to dissolve so I can be reborn into my true soul. Because when you write it, you activate a new layer of energy within your being. And if you know someone who's caught between dream and reality, share this video as a torch to light the way for their soul. You might begin to notice repeating numbers like 1111, 222, or 444 appearing unusually. A song replaying over and over that stirs emotions you can't explain. A stranger's gaze, oddly unfamiliar, yet deeply familiar. Don't dismiss these signs. Don't rush to explain them with reason, because what's about to unfold in the life of Sagittarius cannot be explained, only felt. One thing I've learned from astrology, and from my own life, is this: when your soul is chosen to walk through death, everything that comes to you afterward will be the very things you once dreamed of, but never dared to pray for. And yet, the most important part has not been revealed. Because while all of this is happening, there is someone, a soul once deeply connected to you, being pulled back into your orbit. Not by coincidence, not by chance, but by a sacred link the universe has reawakened. But are they still the person they once were? And are you still the one who once ached because of them? Next, I'll reveal why the universe is sending them back, and why you must be ready before the door of destiny opens once more. Some things leave your life without causing pain right away. They slip away like autumn leaves, quiet, without warning. But weeks later, or months, you suddenly realize you've been breathing easier, lighter, somehow, since when? That's how symbolic death works. It doesn't break you with thunder. It simply takes away what no longer belongs to you. In the tarot deck, the death card is one of the most misunderstood. People fear it, not because it brings death, but because it brings the truth. Nothing old can survive when the soul begins to awaken. But if you look closely, behind that dark figure, there's a rising sun. And that is no accident. Death isn't about losing breath, it's about giving back to the universe the layers you once wore to survive, but no longer need to truly live. Why you, Sagittarius? Because you carry light, but that light is often hidden, behind the smile, behind the strength, behind the look that says, I don't need anyone. You've gotten used to carrying it all alone. You learned to stay optimistic to survive. But sometimes, the light you shine for others isn't bright enough to guide your own path. In your current birth chart, Pluto, the planet of destruction and reconstruction, is interacting intensely with Jupiter, the planet of expansion and belief. This combination is not gentle. It's like a sweeping wind tearing apart everything you once called stable, not to hurt you, but to show you what you thought was safe was merely familiar. My personal belief, after decades of studying astrology, is this: there is no such thing as true loss if it leads you back to the most honest part of who you are. The symbolic death you're experiencing may be the breaking of a relationship, the end of a long-held dream, a career that once meant everything, but now feels like an empty shell. And the hardest part is not losing it, but losing the version of yourself you built around it. Yet right there, in the moment you no longer know who you are, something miraculous happens. Sometimes the best thing that can happen to your life is losing something you thought you couldn't live without. Losing it, so you have no choice but to look back at your own heart. Losing it, so you stop running and start listening. Ask yourself, if you no longer had to keep up the image, no longer had to meet expectations, no longer had to pretend you're okay, then who truly would you be? Perhaps that is the very question the death card is asking you now. And you know what? When a soul dares to die to its old layers, the universe always gives a gift. Silent, but miraculous. It might be a peace you've never known, an old dream suddenly revived, or a person you thought was gone forever. If you're going through a loss, or standing in a moment where you are no longer who you once knew, leave this affirmation for your soul. I accept the death of the old, so the sacred may be born in me. Share this video if it speaks a truth you've never dared to say out loud. Because when you shine your light, the universe sends a miracle back in return. And what keeps my eyes fixed on Sagittarius's chart this week is this. It's not just you who's changing, someone else is too, far away from you. Someone who once slipped quietly out of your life as if disappearing into the dark, but now a sacred light is pulling them back. They are being led back, not by nostalgia, but by divine orchestration. Next, I'll tell you why the person you loved, the one who once hurt you, is now being sent back by the universe. And what will happen when their soul touches yours again, one last time and forever. Have you ever felt it? Someone who once left your life, suddenly appearing again in a dream as if their soul never truly left? No message, no call, yet you feel them, clearly, gently, like a soft breeze through your heart, enough to still you for a moment. It's not coincidence. It's not because you're vulnerable. It's not imagination. It's your soul responding to a divine signal. And the one you loved is receiving the same frequency somewhere out there. Right now, Venus is in retrograde, the planet of love, values, and deep soul ties, and it's activating Sagittarius' 7th house, the house of sacred unions, soulmates, and divine commitment. When these two symbols align, they open a passage between timelines, where old soul contracts not from this life but perhaps from a past one are given the chance to complete. This is not a return to repeat the old. This is a return to close bars, a soul loop that was left unfinished. You may not remember what happened before, but your soul does. And in that divine orchestration, that person, the one you thought you'd never meet again, is being guided back to you. I've seen this many times, and every time it brings tears. Some people disappear, not because they didn't love you, but because they weren't yet mature enough to love you the way you deserved. My personal belief is this: the universe never lets a true love vanish forever if there's still something left to complete. It may be an apology never spoken, a hug still hanging in the air, a goodbye that needs to be rewritten, not in pain, but in light. If you are a Sagittarius, perhaps you've loved with everything you had, and lost in a way you could never explain to anyone. But you never forgot them, even after you lived, grew, tried to love someone else. Because when two souls wrote each other's names in a sacred contract before coming into this life, then time and distance are only temporary tests. True love isn't always about staying. Sometimes true love is losing each other, and then meeting again in the version you both truly deserve. And if something in your heart is stirring as you hear this, leave a comment. I open my heart to receive the soul that once promised to find me again. Or simply, I believe if it's destiny, they will return at the right time. Because truthful words are the very key that reactivates a soul journey that has been paused for far too long. And you may soon notice a message from someone in your past, a melody that makes you cry without warning, a strange coincidence that you can't explain. Don't be too quick to dismiss these as memories. They may be a promise, made in a past life, now arriving right on time. And one more thing, what matters isn't that they return. What matters even more is whether you are still the person you once were, the one who broke, who bent, or a soul now strong enough to love without attachment. Have you ever loved someone, and even after all these years, your soul still whispers their name in dreams? If so, tell me your story, because maybe you're not the only one still waiting. And if you think their return is only meant for closure, then wait for what comes next. Because when two souls meet again after a sacred death, what they create is not just love, but something greater than love. And what is that miracle? I will tell you just ahead. There are things that happen in life without a sound, no explanation, no evidence. Just this. One morning, you wake up and something brushes softly against your soul. It doesn't hurt, but it stops your breath. Maybe you dreamed of a familiar face. Maybe you kept glancing at the clock and always caught 11:11. Maybe a song kept repeating just when you were trying hardest to forget. And you wonder, am I imagining this? Or is something trying to send me a signal? I'm here to tell you, no, you're not imagining. And no, you're not crazy. You are being prepared. In a quiet, loving way, the way God always prepares those He's calling home. In spiritual astrology, when the 12th house, the house of the subconscious, the soul, and the invisible realms, is activated, Sagittarius begins to receive prophetic dreams. These dreams may not be clear, but they leave a trace, like an aftershock, from the soul traveling deeper than waking life. You might see someone from your past in a dream, not to cry, but to understand. Witness strange symbols, fire, water, stairs, doors, numbers. Hear a phrase you've never heard before, but can't stop remembering after waking. Trust me, dreams don't come for your entertainment. They come to help you remember what your mind has long forgotten. If you believe in God, if you believe there's a higher force watching over you, then know this: those signs are not random. A white feather falling at your doorstep, a strange flicker of light in your peripheral vision, a stranger saying aloud the very thought you were just holding in silence. This is how your guardian angel whispers, "You're getting close now. The door of destiny is about to open. Do not turn back." I've seen many people ignore signs like these. They thought it was chance. They used reason to silence the voice of intuition. And you know what? When you ignore that voice for too long, your soul eventually grows quiet. But you, Sagittarius, you are not like the others. You were born with the instincts of a messenger. You sense change before others even notice it. You dream of what's coming before it arrives. Starting today, I invite you to try something simple. Before you sleep, place a journal beside your pillow. When you wake up, even if all you remember is an image, a color, a feeling, write it down. While walking, if you see a repeating number or a strange symbol, note it. Because the universe only continues as Borber to send signals when you begin to respond. And if these things are already happening to you, write below, I am ready to listen to God's signs and step into my soul's journey. Or simply, I no longer ignore the quiet things. Because when you affirm that, you open an invisible door to a place where every good thing has already been prepared for you. When the soul is ready, the universe will whisper through the smallest of things. And when your heart begins to truly listen, the entire sky will speak to you in every language it knows. And you know what? That person, the one who once shattered your heart, they are dreaming too. And in some dream, they have called your name. Maybe they don't remember upon waking, but their soul does, because they're not coming back the way you think they are. They're not returning to repeat the old love. They are being sent by a higher force to complete a soul journey that was left undone with you. And if you're ready, I will tell you what happens when two souls reunite after dying and coming back to life. There is a reason why you, and not someone else, feel things so deeply, why you sense what's coming before it arrives, why you feel others' souls even when they say nothing, and why you've always felt different, out of place, sensitive, but also incredibly strong. You are Sagittarius, the only zodiac sign depicted as half human, half divine. Part of you belongs to the earth, but the other part belongs to a world only marked souls can truly see. In astrology, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, planet of philosophy, truth, and higher spirituality. You didn't come here just to live, you came here to lead. My belief is this: when you are brave enough to let your old self die, you lose nothing. You are only just beginning to touch your real mission. And that mission is not about doing something grand, not about standing on a stage, not about saving the world. It is about illuminating others with the very light that helped you survive. When you've walked through suffering, you know how to be gentle with others' pain. When you've lived in darkness, you know how not to blind others when you finally shine. Maybe you don't see yourself as noble. Maybe you only see yourself as someone who has endured too much. But that is what makes your light different. Because it's not a light you were born with. It's a light distilled from tears, from loss, from shattering. You are someone who will not abandon those walking through the dark night of the soul, because you've been there. And you remember the cold, the fear, the loneliness of nights no one understood you. Not everyone is chosen to endure, but those who are also prepared to lead. You don't need to speak your mission out loud. It will reveal itself. In the way you listen, in your gaze, in your silence. And one day, someone will say, you are the one who helped me not give up. If you feel something stirring inside you, a vague but powerful calling from within, leave this affirmation for your soul. I am the light in the darkness of this age. No one needs to see it. You only need to feel it's true. Because once you affirm who you are, the universe will begin to send to you the very souls who need that light. And don't forget, if you're stepping into a journey where your old light is no longer enough, share this video as a signal to the universe that says, I am ready to lead with my heart wide open. Because once you accept that you are the light, the universe will no longer let you walk alone. An event is approaching. A sign will appear to let you know your path is not just about carrying the light. It is about opening a doorway to irreversible transformation. And I will tell you what is about to come once you step beyond the old threshold, and why everything that was once delayed is now returning to you. Not every ending is sorrowful. Some endings happen in the silence of the universe. No farewells, no rituals, only light quietly retreating from what has fulfilled its purpose. You may be standing in a moment just like that. A relationship has quietly vanished. A door that once held you back has finally closed. A part of yourself, one you thought was forever, is now only memory. But strangely, you don't feel pain the way you used to. Only a soft relief. And that is when true soul release begins. This month, the upcoming full moon lands directly on the 6th, 12th house axis of Sagittarius. This is not just an astronomical event. It is a karmic release portal, an invisible key, returning to you what you thought was lost and lifting the burdens you believed you were destined to carry forever. In astrology, the 12th house represents the end of soul cycles, what lies beneath the subconscious, and what you must forgive, in others and in yourself. When the 12th house is powerfully activated, it is the universe's soft reminder. You don't need to pack the past and carry it into your next chapter. The new journey requires a heart that has shed its old armor. Some things must end, not because they were wrong, but because they have fulfilled their role in your story. Not all endings are sorrowful. Some are written in light and open the door to the life you once prayed for. Do you remember the last time you cried in silence? When you were so tired, you couldn't fight anymore, and all you could do was surrender? That day, what seemed like a failure, now, in hindsight, was your moment of release, the place where everything began to return to you. And if you're in that very place right now, please trust me. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not lost. You are being led to the place where your soul truly belongs. If you have walked through darkness and thought there was nothing left to hold on to, and somehow the light still found you, leave a comment to affirm it. I am living proof that light is real. Or simply, I once lost everything, and I was given something better. If you feel you've just survived a storm, if you were once shattered and now find yourself healing, share this video. Not just so someone else finds hope, but so the universe sees that you've completed the lesson and are ready to receive the reward. Because each time you share your light, you don't just help someone rise, you are also elevating your own soul's frequency. Not with a knock on the door, not with a dramatic scene, but with the quietest of things. A sudden peace that floods your heart. The person you once loved returning, not to apologize, but to understand. A long-lost dream, suddenly becoming real. Without effort, and you realize it was the symbolic death before that cleared the way for the true miracle. But this is not the end, because once you have been set free, the universe will test you one last time with something you thought had been closed forever. And if you're ready, I will tell you what happens when the past returns. But you are no longer who you used to be. There is a kind of death that doesn't bring pain but brings relief. The quiet ending of a version of you that had been holding on for too long, and the beginning of a journey your soul has waited for, across many lifetimes. You've heard the call, haven't you? Not loud, not urgent, just impossible to ignore. Because death is drawing near. Not to end your life, but to end the things that are no longer truly you. And that person, the one your soul once carved its name into, they are returning. Not to love you the way they did before, but to build something with you that no one has ever touched before. A love after rebirth. A love no longer based on lack, no longer afraid to lose, no longer needing to prove anything, only presence, wholeness. And if you ask me, how do I know I'm ready? I will smile and say, when you no longer need to hold on to anything old, not even the safe version of yourself, that's when you're ready. To live a life more sacred than any dream you've ever dared to pray for. Thank you. To you who stayed until the very end, thank you, not just for listening, but for having the courage to listen with your heart. Not everyone can be quiet enough to hear the whisper of the universe, but you did. And that alone has already placed you on a path from which there is no return, the path toward light, toward mission, toward unconditional love. If this video touched something deep in you, a place no one has ever been able to name, leave a comment below. I am ready to be reborn by destiny and for sacred love to live again. That is more than a sentence. It is a key, one that opens a new gate for your soul. And if you believe that light should be shared, like this video, share it, subscribe to this channel, not just so you'll be the first stars to hear the next whisper from the stars, but so the light in you can call back to the souls that are still asleep and waiting. Because this journey doesn't end here, it's only just beginning. You are ready now, I know that. And the universe, it's been waiting for you for a very long time.